yet, but let's. Good evening, everybody. We are so glad to see you here today. If you were joining us live, welcome. Just be sure to mute your microphone and your video until the end, because at the end, we're going to give you an opportunity to ask questions of our wonderful host. Our wonderful guest, I should say. I am one of your co-hosts. I am Kathleen Oliveri, and I am from Mississippi, where I teach at Mississippi State University. And I'm so glad to have you here today when we are talking to real people about their real stories. And specifically, we are looking at the ASEA Redox cell signaling supplement. And this is something that I take every day. I love it, along with the topical gel version of it. And so we'll be talking to you about that today. But also to keep in mind that any of our discussions are not meant to diagnose, treat, cure, or help any type of medical condition. The ASEA Redox Signaling Molecules are native to your body. You have them, but as we get older, we lose them. And so this supplement helps to supplement that, and it detects, repairs, and replaces the bad cells in our bodies. And while I'm not a scientist or a medical person like our co-host is, but I do know that healthy cells mean healthy tissue, healthy organs, and healthy bodies. And that is what I want as I age. Today, we have a great guest with us, but I'd like to turn this over to our co-host, Dr. Barbie Phillips. Welcome, Barbie.
Thank you, Kathleen. My name is Dr. Barbie Phillips, and I am a chiropractic physician for people and animals. I'm coming to you from Fargo, Oklahoma. For those of you that didn't know there was a second Fargo, we have one. And I'm going to introduce our wonderful guest tonight. Her name is Melissa Hypes, and we are so excited to interview her and hear about her ASEA journey. So Melissa, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and give us a little bit about your background. Tell us about yourself, even your family, and then tell us how long you've been with ASEA and started your journey.
Well, thank you for having me. This is exciting. This is the first one of these I have done. But anyway, and I took notes. If you see me looking down, it's to help me keep from rambling. But we started ASEA a little over a year ago, and how it came into our lives was my mother has a very serious joint condition, we'll say. She's had it for 20 some years. And through her journey with that, we have explored everything medically and naturally, trying to help her. Her and I, even, we have a biofeedback scanning machine. So for a while, we had a business running scans where it would identify imbalances in people's bodies and make supplemental recommendations, dietary recommendations. I'm actually really well versed in the natural health field. Ever since I was in college, it's just been my passion. People are like, "Oh, what do you do for fun?" I'm like, "Oh, I research natural health supplements and stuff." And so anyway, I raised my kids, right? So I raised my kids without a doctor. I am by far not against the medical system. And sometimes I say you have to say, praise God for modern meds. But if we could do it naturally, we did. And I knew how to do all the things. I knew proper diet, supplementation. With all that being said, my mother was going downhill fast. And I homeschool our two kids. And I graduated my oldest, and I'm working through high school with my youngest. And I thought, I'm going to graduate my last child just in time to have to now go care for my mother. I mean, she was getting that crippled. And she did a sauna protocol, and it didn't work. She had hired a coach, and she was so frustrated. This coach said, "Hey, listen, I have something that will help you." So after a big fight between her and the coach strong-handed her, which is Anita Warren, strong-handed her into trying the molecules. And she was one of those quick responders. And she had it was unbelievable. All the symptoms were gone. So at the time, our son was dealing with low mood. And bless his heart, he had done every diet I told him to do. He took every supplement. None of it worked. And he got to the place, he was like, I'm not doing anything more. I'm not doing any more supplements. But after seeing my mom, it took a minute to even get me to consider it, because I think we tend to pigeonhole things. Like, I saw that it helped her, but I kind of pigeonholed it into what she had going on. But I did do some due diligence, and I said, Brian, this may help you. Are you willing to give it a try? And miracles of miracles, he said yes. And so I said, great. So I get together with Anita, and she explains, oh, you can be a consumer, you can be an associate. Well, this is what I do. Like, people come to me, bring me their kids, this is what we have going on. What should we take? Oh, go to VitaCost, order this, this, and this. Never has anybody been willing to give me a thank you check. So, and I said, Anita, sign me up as an associate, because if I like it, I'll refer it. And if you're going to give me a thank you check, that's amazing. So she did. It comes. I ordered the smallest package possible, because I'm just kind of feeling it out. I'm not really that sure about this. And as soon as it gets here, my husband says, well, I want to try it too. And I was like, oh, okay. And I said, well, gosh, if you're going to try it, I should try it. I'm the one that might be recommending it. So immediately I went in and went to get a bigger package. So this is where I'm going to reference my notes. So I'll start with my son, because he was the one we started with. So within a month, we saw a lightness come back upon him, a clarity of mind. I mean, we could see it. He's over a year into taking it now. Is it a teen thing? I don't know, but he's like, well, I don't think the redox had anything to do with that. And we're like, oh, okay. But he walked by the bottles one day, and he said, I can't tell you what that does for me, but I will always take as much as you're willing to give me. I don't have to remind him. His body craves it. So he did go away one weekend, and he came back, and he was kind of out of sorts. And I thought, oh no, here we go again. It stopped working. Well, I asked him, I said, did you keep up with the redox? And he said, oh, no. And immediately took 2 cups of it, and right back to where he was. So I think that was an eye opener for him. But so we started with him, and then let's see, 8 months, we own a karate studio. So they are in kids' faces all the time. So he gets really, really sick, and he goes to emergency care, and because he had a real raw throat. And they get to examining him, and they said, well, we really think it's we'll call that one illness where you get really tired, and I mean, like, you are out for months kind of tired. They said, we really think that's it. And he didn't want to pay for the testing. He said, well, just give me the medicine for other sore throat things. And they said, okay, but if it's what we think it is, you're going to break out in a rash all over your body. So he starts taking it, and sure enough, here comes the rash all over his body. And we thought, oh, we can't lose him for, 6 or so months because of this, because of the karate studio. But 2 weeks later, he was perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Yeah. So that was amazing. And let's see. All right, so that was his big things. I mean, it's just, he's 20, and he's a weightlifter. So he could definitely tell the increased energy with that. And he takes the cell performance, he takes a mind and an energy before going to the gym. He can tell a big difference. So next we'll jump to my husband. We were on this for 1 week, and he got a really felt like he had the stomach flu. Well, then we realized it wasn't the stomach flu, it was his appendix. So we go rushing off to the hospital, and he has to have an emergency appendectomy. Is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, while in the hospital, he's getting scans, and they discover a spot on his liver. His father died almost 20 years ago of liver cancer. So that was a big deal that they found that. I don't think I've ever seen my husband so terrified. But he had the surgery, so I had doubled his dose. We were putting the gel on his torso area. And 4 days after that surgery, well, first of all, he had that surgery in the morning. We went home that afternoon. 4 days later, he's back to teaching karate. He healed up crazy quick. 2 months later, they did an extensive scans to see his regular doctor to see about that spot. Not only was there not anything there, but his blood work for the first time his whole entire adult life was pristine, absolutely pristine. And he didn't share this with us, but his liver blood work had not been good. So it was really something we should have been looking into, but he kind of did the head in the sand kind of thing. So now his blood work continues to be great. He also suffered from chronic back pain, and sometimes it would be sciatica, sometimes it just seemed to like run all over his back. But when we were on ASEA, he started getting like this back shoulder pain, and then at night he couldn't sleep. Like he'd sleep with his arm up, and oh, his neck and his shoulder, I mean, he could barely move it. It was very debilitating. And when after his surgery, we did 8 ounces, but then he went back to 4 ounces a day. So about 8 months into the journey, I said, why don't you bump it back up to 8 ounces and let's see what that does. So when he started at 8 ounces a day, about 8 months into ASEA, all the pains went away. So only very rarely will he ever complain of a pain. But that's usually if he lifted something too heavy, and which normally would have put him on his back for a couple of weeks. He's complaining for a couple of hours and then it's gone. So was his big successes. And I want to kind of share this. I saw it with my other company where we were recommending the supplements. I noticed people would come in feeling one way. So they'd have a baseline about here. Then they'd start taking the supplements and then they'd start to feel better. So their baseline would elevate to here. And then they would say, well, it stopped working. It's not working, because they were used to that little, for lack of better terms, that little high they were getting while they were climbing. But when they reached their new normal, they forgot where they were back down here. And they would think it had stopped working. And I would try to get them to understand it's not that it stopped working, it's just you now have a new normal. Right. And don't forget where you came from. Well, I find ASEA very much to be the same way, because we'll constantly be like, oh, what have we taken this for? We're not feeling a whole lot. No, we have forgotten what we were feeling a year ago. So I like to have it written down, a reference, and then I like to praise God for, where we have come, thank him for no longer having to deal with all that. But anyway, so to me, about 4 months before starting ASEA, I had blood work done. So for 3 years, I had been on a medication for your gland in your throat, right? And I had tried everything. I had tried all the thyroid diets. I had tried the supplementation. I desperately wanted off the medication, and I couldn't do it. Not only could I not do it, but it was like every year the numbers were getting worse and worse. And then this go round, I had blood work and my kidneys were not doing well. And I was told I was in early stages. And I thought, what in the world? I don't drink sodas. I mean, I have a very clean lifestyle. What is going on? And I too had given up pretty much on the whole supplementation thing, because I also found something would work for a little bit and then it would stop. And it wasn't the new normal kind of thing. It was like your body was chasing something. So I aside from taking some vitamin D3 and zinc, if I felt like I was getting sick, I just kind of gave up on the whole thing. But so I had that blood work. Well, when I got on, let's see, and I had other things going on. I'm at that stage of life where your cycles play peekaboo and all the fun things that come with that. But when we got on ASEA, I quickly saw Amy Stacy's testimony, who I don't know if you've seen her, but she's a triple diamond with ASEA, and she's actually a nurse right up the road from where I live. And she had success with her thyroid medication, we'll say. Anyway, it inspired me. So for 2 months, I was on ASEA, and I thought, okay, well, let me see if I can back off this medication. So I did. And I went to the doctor and had blood work, and it confirmed I no longer need it. Sorry, I almost feel like there should be a bullhorn or something if I get out of compliance. But I no longer, the doctor said I no longer needed the medication. So all those years of trying all those things, and I really just was lacking Redox Signaling Molecules. So that happened a year later, from the last batch of blood work. I get my blood work done again, and the kidneys look great. All the symptoms, oh gosh, when we first got this, I had just told my husband that I had such debilitating brain fog that I could homeschool the kids, and then that was it. Like, don't expect anything else of me, because I could not think my way through like this black fog that was in front of me. Well, that very quickly lifted. I was having to take a nap every day, and I'm real active and usually have a lot of energy, but I was having to take a nap every day. That went away. My running increased. I had a karate injury on my knee that I had it like 7 years ago, but it was just starting to really flare up to where when I woke up in the morning, I couldn't walk on that leg just yet. I would have to really limp on it for about 15 minutes, and then it would kind of come back to life, but it hurt me nonstop. That's completely gone. Let me see. Oh, this was fun. I had this spot on my face, and every once in a while I'll get something that pops up, and I'll put apple cider vinegar on it for a few nights, and it'll go away. So I had this spot come up. Apple cider vinegar didn't touch it. So I started putting the gel on it, and it kind of blew up and then went away. So I thought, I don't know what that was, but it's not here anymore. So I'm grateful for that. And then, and this is fun. I go to my hairdresser after being on it almost a year. And she says, "What in the world are you doing?" She said, "Your hair is so healthy." And I just laughed. I said, "Really?" She said, I've never seen it so healthy. I was like, must be the Redox. And then I used to have a deep sinus congestion, and that completely is not there anymore. So then my last family member, which I had really hoped was my 14-year-old daughter. I thought, oh, we should be good. She should be good for a while. Won't have to put her on it. Well, she, during her horseback riding lessons, started having panic attacks. And then she kind of flipped and had no motivation to do anything. Like it was scary. I thought, here we go again, my second child going through this. So we had blood work ran, and her gland was out of whack, and the doctor at that time said that there's something going on in our area. She said 80 out of 100 people will have an issue with that gland, but she also tested positive for a bug bite that takes people out quite often. And so anyway, so they wanted to put her on antibiotics for that. Well, she has never had an antibiotic her whole life. So I was like, I really, I don't want to mess up this track record here. So the doctor actually approved an herbal. And she said, it's not as strong. We might have to do that. I said, well, let's try this and with the redox and see what we get. She completely cleared up, completely cleared up. So didn't ever have to go on the antibiotic. And to this day, she takes 2 ounces a day. And that seems to work for her. But yeah, I think that's pretty much, our dog had a spot on her leg. And we took her to the vet and they were like, this is gonna have to be removed. It's probably not good. And I said, okay. I said, give me a little bit of time. So I packed it with the gel and sprayed and got her to drink the molecules, and that went away. So
Wow, those are all really, really great testimonies to share, Melissa. Thank you. And I could see how, with you guys owning a karate studio, how that would be kind of hard on the body sometimes. And we just want to remind people that are listening to this tonight that these are Melissa's testimonies. And of course, like Kathleen said at the beginning, any of the conditions that were mentioned, etc. We're not claiming that ASEA treats those, but we are suggesting that by giving the body what it needs at the cellular level so it can heal, then the body can regain health. And it sounds like that worked for all your family members. And so that's really incredible to hear about your journey, Melissa, and your family. So thank you for sharing that. I would like to open it up if there's any questions from anyone tonight. You're welcome to unmute. And you're also welcome to turn your camera on so that we can see you. And we'll have you ask Melissa any questions that you have right now. Anyone? Kathleen.
I have just a real quick question, and maybe Betsy has one. So you had said that your son was taking, I think, the mind and the what other supplement were y'all taking? What was he taking?
energy, mind and energy.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. There are kids, I mean, older kids too, that are taking a lot of those self-performance products, and they're very, very helpful for so many youth. So.
And he was drinking some of the, what he felt like was a lesser evil of an energy drink. I'm not sure that that's true, that there's a lesser evil energy drink out there, but he swapped it for the energy. And yeah, and it did just as well for him. So
yeah. And gave his body actually some nutritional products that, or herbs that actually are helpful to him versus harmful. So
exactly.
What a great choice for him being a young adult. So
yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Betsy, would you like to unmute? And you're welcome to turn your video on if you have a question.
Hi. So I was wondering, so the thyroid gland, if that was an issue, if you use the Redox liquid and the gel on your neck, or
I did.
okay.
Well,
And
it's so let's talk about this, right? The on the neck was actually vanity. I'm like, oh, I get to that age where the neck shows your age. But so by default, yeah, I was putting it on my neck. But the skin, it was unbelievable. So I put the gel on my skin morning and night when I clean my face, and I mean, I saw the results. Other people have told me they saw the results. I mean, it really, really cleaned up a lot of stuff on the face.
did you use the Radiance? Your hairdresser noticed your hair, but did you use the Radiance or just the Redox when your hairdresser noticed your hair?
Just the Redox. I have used the Radiance, but I don't think I've probably used it consistent enough for that to have actually made the difference. But something I will do a lot at night, because my gray is starting to come in, and I'm trying to be brave and just let it do its thing. But I take spray. I read the Redox spray, and I
Spray the Redox. Yeah.
into my scalp each night.
Oh, that's awesome. And the radiance, even if you don't do it every day, I think it's still helping me as well.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Another neat thing I did one day, I looked down at my toes and they looked like, I don't know, they look like they fungus. I mean, it wasn't totally gross, but I was like, oh, it might start a little fungus thing down there. And I put the gel on it and just knocked it right out. I mean, there's so many little things that it's constantly doing. It's almost hard to keep up with it all.
Right. Yeah. Good questions, Betsy. Thank you. All right. Any other questions before we wrap up for tonight? Well, we sure appreciate everyone joining us. And Melissa, again, thank you so much for sharing your journey. There's a lot of people that will benefit from the information that you shared tonight. And we would like to remind everyone that these Zoom calls are recorded and they're available on the Creation Chiropractic YouTube channel. So you can find them there. And we will be back in 2 weeks where we will interview another Redox guest and see how Redox has changed their life. And that will be on July 23rd, Tuesday at 6:30 p.m., just like tonight. So we would like to wish everyone a good evening, and we will talk to you guys all again soon. Thanks for being here again, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.